By the time you're experiencing your spiritual awakening and you're quite deep inside of it, you will have experienced quantum jumping, leaps of consciousness, going into other parallels, going into other dimensions, having vivid dreams, lucid dreams, astral travel, experiencing a life that isn't quite the same life that you're living right now, knowing how to tap into other lives, on other parallels, on other dimensions, on other universes, if you like, on other planes of existence, if you like, so that you're able to deeper understand you. Now, some of you might call this going into the Akasha, going into the ethers, going into your Akashic records. Some of you might call this one of the siddhis that come as a result of your Kundalini awakening, Kundalini rising. And Kundalini awakening rising is not in itself enough. You've got to go through various points in that. Now, all of this put together, folks, whether we call it the mechanics of quantum jumping, whether we call it waking up to these alpha, theta, beta, delta states, and we know that these are different frequency, different brain waves that are already inside of us, folks. You don't have to know the mechanics of any of these things. You don't need to know how to do any of these things, because by virtue of your spiritual awakening, by virtue of your Kundalini awakening, by virtue of you basically making a point of lightening burdens that you've been carrying, lightening the karma, lightening conditioned existence, and stopping to identify with the limited version of yourself, whether you want to call it going through your healing or getting through and rid of samskaras, your vrittis, getting through and rid of karma, so that the life that you're living now is pretty much not born of karma, but without any of this, so that you're now working towards living out of pure consciousness, then living out of what is already there in your consciousness, right? So rather than you working from a clean slate or a slate that already has some etchings on it, yeah, you're working from a very, very clean canvas, clean slate. As clean as you can get, so as clean as you can get into your consciousness, or rather say the emptier that you can get, the easier it becomes for you to align with this other consciousness or this other brain wave. So the deeper you get into this, the deeper you relax. The deeper you relax, the easier it is for you to tap into all of these. If you've ever experienced a fever, yeah? So I remember every time I'd get a fever, I never resisted it. I never wanted medication for it. And I remember feeling quite spaced out, and I quite enjoyed that feeling. Now that feeling, was very, very similar to when you're going through Kundalini awakening. You're going through Kundalini rising, and as you're going through the limbs of that, you're also in this kind of very, very lulled. You are awake to everything around you, but you're also so very deeply relaxed, as if you're in a hypnotic trance. And when you've got a Kundalini rising, and when you're in that, as you're going through this life as well, it sometimes feels like that, like you're ungrounded, but not quite to the point that it becomes dysfunctional or that you cannot function as a fully integrated person. So as you're going through all of this, folks, in that lightness of being, in that lighter state of being, you're already going to be accessing this. You're already going to be taking quantum leaps and quantum jumps. You're already going to be able to go into a space, into a parallel life, into a life that your past is going on, into a life where, there's something else going on. So you will have had so many different pasts or so many different lives going on at the same time. So you access that which represents your consciousness right now. You access that which you want, but not necessarily one that is where you are right now, but that's where you want to go. And one way of going there is through quantum leaping. Now, when you're quantum leaping, you leap into a place that is sabotaging you, and then you leap into a place that is you already living that. So folks, whether you want to call it quantum jumping, quantum leaping, law of attraction, and all of these beautiful phrases that we have, as you're going through your spiritual awakening, whether you want to call it that you're now a manifester, you're now a spiritual activator, you're able to do so many things, it's all just the same thing. It boils down to exactly the same thing. It boils down to you basically getting rid of the density rather than darkness. The density, and the dense goes, your identity with what is dense goes, lightness of being comes in. And yes, it is a process in itself, right? So it doesn't matter, folks, what name you want to give it. It doesn't matter how you want to look at it. Now, if you can see all of these different states, whether we're looking at it brain-wise, whether you're looking at it from a point of view that there are extraterrestrials that exist, they existed before and they continue to exist. There will be other planets and they will continue to be. There will be other beings, they'll continue to be. Everything that we're discovering right now was already discovered before. So there's nothing new, folks. Yeah, so the only thing that is new is you right now, when we're just waking up to these other things that are happening, and they seem so new, but there's nothing new. It's all just the same thing that everyone keeps repeating. It's the same thing that's, was discovered then, it's discovered now. And this is where some of you, when I might share some of my own gifts or might share with you certain breathing, exercising or techniques or anything, folks, I never like to call it mine, because it was there before me. It has always been there. And even if it is something that you might have tapped into and discovered, you've made a discovery, it's not a discovery that belongs to you. It's not a discovery that belongs to me. I might have come up with something, but it's not something. For example, people like Nikola Tesla, Pythagoras, the Herminians, all of these Eleusinians, there are so much, folks. You think that was something that they discovered? And that suddenly that was something original, and that suddenly it was something that wasn't there and they just found it? No, it was discovery. And anything that is discovered is something that has already existed. There is nothing that doesn't already exist. And as long as we can fathom it, it already exists. If we can think of it, it already exists. So folks, I just want to close this with one thing to say to you, that if there is something or there's a level of frustration you're feeling with the way that life is at the moment, and you're a great manifester, but you're unable to manifest that one thing, or there's still something that is eating at you, just remember that it's not about you suddenly, that you're not able to, or that you're on a lower vibration, or that, these are things that are out of your reach. No. Remember that which you're seeking is seeking you. Now, if it is seeking you, it already exists. And you're seeking it because it already exists. You can't seek that which doesn't exist. And you can't feel that which is not there already. Yeah? Sending you so much love. I'll be back tonight with a long, deeper post. Take care.